Okay, so good morning. Today's daf is Nazir daf Yud. We are near the top of daf Yud at the Mishnah. And let me share my screen. And as we saw yesterday, we are talking about some interesting situations, some situations that are um, a little bit unusual. People have used not quite the right wording, not quite the typical wording to become a Nazir. As I note here, we've been talking about some nonsensical statements. Yesterday, we talked about somebody saying they wanted to be a Nazir from figs instead of grapes. And we had three views in yesterday's Mishnah. View number one, according to the Tanna Kama, we had again a machlokas between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai says that the person is a Nazir. Beis Hillel says he's not a Nazir. And then we had Beis Shammai, according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says, no, the person is not a Nazir, but has prohibited himself from figs. Today, we're going to have something similar. So let's take a look and we'll get right into it. And as I said, we're going to have talking cows and talking doors. So Amra Parazu. So a person says, quote, this cow said, subquote, Hareini Nazira imomedes ani. I am hereby a Nazir if I stand up. Meaning that, I'm going to give the interpretation as is pretty clear as the intention here is. It is as the person is saying, this cow is so stubborn. It's as if it said that I'm going to be a Nazir if I stand up. That's how much of a refusal to stand up, how impertinent this dang nabbit cow is in my life. And so that's what the person says. And the implication is that they want to be a Nazir. And exactly under what circumstances, that's not yet clear. We're going to figure that out during the course of the Gemara. Or Omer Hadelitzeh, or he's trying to get a door open and it's just stuck. And the person says, Harein Nizira, that he says, Omer Hadelitzeh, person says, this door is saying, Harein Nizira im niftach ani. I'm going to be a Nazir if I open. Okay, again, the door is saying, I don't want to open in our minds. And so as a result, that is how it's being interpreted. And so
in our times, we now have talking doors.
We don't still have talking cows, but we
had talking donkeys and snakes during the time of the Torah.
Yes, that is true. The shir that I heard on this daf, then went into an interesting aside on talking animals, whether maybe they might talk in the times of Mashiach, or at least have greater intelligence in the times of Mashiach. The cute pshat that I heard was in connection with the last sentence as we close the Amidah, and we say, let me get a sitter here, hold on. As we say at the end of Shmona Esrei, we say, that then the offering of Judah and Yerushalayim, but the offering is a mincha. We don't say then V'aravala Hashem Korban Yehuda Yerushalayim. And apparently Rav Kook suggests, although he apparently suggests other things elsewhere, that actually this is an indication that God willing in the times of Mashiach, there won't be animal sacrifices, there will just be vegetable sacrifices. And this is based on the idea that maybe the animals might have a greater sense of intelligence at that point in time. In any event, I thought that was cute, so I will share that given Charlie's comment. But back into the Gemara. So we have this person say, either that this cow said, I'm a Nazir if I stand up, or this door say, I'm a Nazir if I open. And what are we going to have? We're going to have a very similar machlokas to what we saw yesterday. So Beit Shammai Omrim Nazir. Beit Shammai says the person is a Nazir. The person is a Nazir. Obviously, we're not talking about the cow or the door. Indeed, both the cow and the door are are female words in Hebrew, which is why it says Nazira, and that also helps clarify that we're not saying that the person is saying that that the I in that statement is the person speaking. It's the I is the animal or the door, because the person has used the female Nazira in the context of the statement. So, and again, as a reminder, we can have both male and female. Just because a person is female doesn't mean that they can't be a Nazir. They're just a Nazira. In any event, Beit Shammai omrim Nazir, Beit Hillel omrim eino Nazir. So Beit Shammai says the person is a Nazir. Beit Hillel says they're not. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda, here comes Rabbi Yehuda again and says Avkesha Amar Beit Shammai. No, what the Tanna Kama is reporting Beit Shammai said is not accurate. Lo Amru Ella Ba'omer Hare, and this is based on the Aleph in the Gilyon Hashas, Misoros Hashas. No, I'm sorry. It goes to the Hagos Habach, excuse me. And Lo Amru Ella Ba'omer Hare Parazo Alai Karban Imomedasi. That it's as if the person said that this cow is like a sacrifice. So again, as we saw last time, what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that the word Nazir can mean to separate, and so as a result, the person is not actually saying is what he's really saying is I'm a Nazir to this cow, or I'm a Nazir to this door, and so as a result, the door or the cow are considered things that are prohibited if it stands up. So let's take a look and see how the Gemara deals with all of this. And of course, it asks the most obvious question to begin with. And indeed, the question that on some level Charlie was hinting at when noting the fact that there are talking donkeys and talking snakes in the Torah. So para mikamish, can a cow talk? So Amar Rebbe, and of course the interesting shot that I heard. Well, all right. So what if that suggests that if a cow could talk, that it may be something that the cow said would have an impact. And of course, the possibility is maybe actually it would have an impact, just as an angel came to Shimshon and said to Shimshon's parents and said that your child will be a Nazir. So too, this if an animal were to come to you and actually say that you should be a Nazir, well, maybe you should be a Nazir. Maybe it's like you should be a Nazir from Hashem. So that would some similar kind of explanation. But in any event, Gemara asks, does a cow talk? Of course not. So Amar Rabbi Bar Chama says, nah, Hakabamayaskin. This is what we're talking about. Here's the case, and we're going to have two views. Two people are going to chime in here. One is Rami Bar Chama. He's going to give explanation number one, and then Rav is going to give explanation number two, but he's going to do it in three different efforts. So, and then finally we'll get explanation number two. So explanation number one is going to be the following. It's just going to be that this Mishnah is exactly like our prior Mishnah. And then we're going to have to ask the question, well, why do we need both? And we're going to explain why we need both. So let's take a look. So Amar Rabbi Bar Chama, this is what we're talking about. Para revutza lefanim. You got a cow lying in front of you. And the Amar, and so the person says, Kisvura parazo eino menes. This cow thinks it's not going to get up, right? Harein nazir mi b'sara. If that's going to be true, if this cow doesn't get up, I'm going to, this cow is so stubborn, it's unable to get up. If it gets up on its own, I'm going to be so amazed, and I will be even a Nazir. And then it got up on its own, and so as a result, that's why we have this debate. Okay, so Halchu Beit Shammai l'shita san. Beit Shammai follows their shita. Beit Hillel l'shita san, and Beit Hillel follows its shita from the prior Mishnah. Beit Shammai de Amri min agrogros min advela havi nazir. So hachanami ki amar mibsaram. That what the person is saying, I'm going to be a nazir mibsaram, meaning from its meat. So as a result, it's not that I'm going to be a nazir from grapes. The person says I'm going to be a nazir from the meat. So the question is does that mean that they're a Nazir or not? So just as we had in the last Mishnah, where the person used dried figs instead of saying grapes, so the person is a Nazir. The Beit Hillel Omrim Lo Havi Nazir, and the Beit Hillel says no, you can't be a Nazir based on separating from, based on the concept of separating from meat or from a door. Just as you can't be a Nazir if you talk about separating from figs. Well, 1 second, we already had this one time. Why do we need to bother with this again? So Amarava Tarti Tlas. Rava explains that actually it's teaching us 2 or maybe 3 things that really we do need to teach it 2 or 3 times, meaning the 2 times being figs, number 1, 2 is the cow, and 3 is the door. And similarly, Rabbi Chia also said we need 2 or 3 different kinds of examples. And Rabbi Yoshi also said that we need 2 or 3 examples. And all of them are needed. Excuse me. Thank you. And we need all of them to eat it, because if we only have the figs case of the dried figs and the pressed figs, so the hasam who the amri beis shammai havi nazir, it's only going to be maybe only in the case of figs are we going to say that this actually is a statement that the person becomes a nazir, because because a person can get confused between figs and grapes. Not that they're confusing with the although if you have a big enough grape, you might get it confused with the fig. But the point is that the person could just say, often one associates different things together. And if a person associates figs and grapes, so they could accidentally say figs when they actually mean grapes. But a person is not going to confuse meat with grapes, because meat and grapes are completely different. They're not even the same, they don't both grow from the ground even. So v'i it marbasar, and if you had just meat, so hachu the amri beit shammai havi nazir. I might have thought that the reason that the person is a nazir in the case of meat, because bivisra v'chamra, people eat meat with wine, and so when one says that they want to separate from meat, they're really saying that they want to separate from the luxuries of things, and so as a result, they're really including wine in that as well. About grogros udvela. But that would not apply necessarily to dried figs and pressed figs. So Amash Malan, so that's why we need to teach those 2. So now we've explained why you need both figs and grapes. So both figs and the cow. So what about so why do we need the door? Maybe we should learn from just figs and the cow, and we will figure out the door on its own. The Gemara continues and says, if you only had these 2, the figs and the meat, figs and the cow, maybe it's only in those cases. About deles, maybe they would agree to Beit Hillel, because and say a door isn't even food. So of course you're not going to be an actual Nazir. The Itana Deles. And of course, if you only learn the Deles, so Baha Amri Beit Hillel, then the problem is that maybe Beit Hillel would only say a door. Yes, you would be able to know that if in fact we taught Beit Shammai's rule with respect to doors, you would know that if the person said that they want to be a Nazir from figs, or they want to be a Nazir from a cow, you would know that if a Nazir from a door works, well, then certainly a Nazir from a fig or a cow would work as well. And so, but maybe we wouldn't know the other side. Maybe if we only had the discussion about doors, and we knew that Beit Shammai says that if you say I'm a Nazir from a door, you're a Nazir, but Beit Hillel says if you're Nazir from a door, you're not a Nazir. But Hakamri Beit Hillel, maybe it's only in the door case that Beit Hillel would say that. But the other 2, because they're also foods, maybe Beit Shammai, Beit Hillel would agree to Beit Shammai. So Kamash Malan Delo. And so as a result, we see, hello, Mark, hello, Lori. So we see that we need actually all 3. And so that is the explanation number 1. What's the case? What?
behind Silas? Rashi or no Rashi?
So we don't have Rashi on Maseches Nazir. We have the Mefarish, but right now we're dealing with the Gemara, and the Gemara has a case. You'll find this case really funny. A person says that a door told them that they're going to be that the door is going to be a Nazir if it opens. Isn't that silly? Do doors talk? Of course not. So although Charlie pointed out that now we can have some talking doors, but we don't also, but the Gemara also, the Mishnah also told us about a talking cow, and we don't have talking cows either. So, all right. But in any event,
we see was Mr. Ed.
Oh, yes, we had a talking horse on television. That's true. Okay. So Amar Rava. So
He had a
Rava
home run against Sandy Koufax once.
What was that?
The talking horse had a home run against Sandy Koufax once.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't see
And
that.
inside the
episode.
park chop.
Okay. I don't know, but it's apparently it hit a home run against Sandy Koufax. All right. So Amar Rava. So Rava, though, so we had explanation number one. So explanation number one of our Mishnah is that it's exactly like the last Mishnah. Exactly like the last Mishnah. That basically it's only telling us that not only do we have that if you say that you're a Nazir from figs, does Beit Shammai say that you're a Nazir? But even if you say you're a Nazir from cows or a Nazir from a door, that the Nazir statement is what we're going to focus on, and the person is a Nazir. And Beit Hillel says, no, you can't be a Nazir if you don't say that you're a Nazir from grapes. That it just doesn't work. And then, okay, so, and then of course, the Rebbe Yehuda says, no, that's not what that's not what the argument is about. The argument is actually about whether you're making a neder from anything. And so with Beit Shammai saying that you are making a neder to separate from either figs or the cow or from the door, whereas Beit Hillel says, no, again, you have not used the right language, and so you haven't said anything. So, but Amar Rava says, Mi katani im amda me'eleha. Well, one second. Did we actually say anything about if the cow gets up on its own? And the Rush here changes the language a little bit and says, if we take a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 10 and 11 lines up in the narrow lines of the Rush on the left-hand side of the page, it says, Amar Rava, mi katani amda me'aleha. Did we ever say that it would get up on its own? And takes out the word im, meaning that the point that the Rush is making is, did our Mishnah, ever talk about the condition? Meaning it doesn't seem like the condition is dependent on its getting up on its own. So let's take a look at the Rush inside. Ha amrat de ikar chidusha de masnisen ha. That the key point of our Mishnah is the following. D'tanan rovetz is para, that we have this cow that's lying down. La'ashme'inan davka amda me'aleha, that it's specifically that the cow is getting up on its own. V'im kain, but if what matters is just whether the cow is getting up on its own, havalei misne beferish amda me'aleha. It's the Gemara should tell us explicitly that it's getting up on its own. V'leika lefarish bein amda me'aleha bein amda al yedei acherim de'im kain amai tana klal revetzes para. So meaning and it should distinguish between whether it gets up by itself or it gets up with somebody else's help, because that's why it's talking about the fact that the cow is lying down. So listening ha'omer hareini nazar mibasar para. It could have just told us this by just saying, why did it even bother with the whole concept of it getting up? Meaning the whole concept of this cow getting up is not really important to the first explanation that Rabbi Rami Bar Chama offers, because the point is that the whole point that he's trying to tell us is an expansion of the prior Mishnah. There's no need for a condition. All that we're just saying is that if you say that it's talking about that you want to be a Nazir from a cow, that it works, or if you want to be a Nazir from a door, that it works. What's all the conditional aspect? Why do we have to have the cow talk or the door talk? That's all seems to be unnecessary. So Ella Amarava Kagon Shahaisa Para Revutz Lefanav. So now we're going to give again 3 different efforts at Rava giving an explanation. And so effort number 1 is as follows. Ella Amarava Kagon Shahaisa Para Ravutz Lefanav Va'amar Hare Alai Korban. So it's as if the person has a cow lying in front of him, and the person says that I'm going to offer a korban. And actually, it's interesting. Tosos here says hare, second to last Tosos on the daf, hare alai kik korban. It's like a korban, meaning that this is going to be this animal is going to be like a sacrifice to me. So meaning that it's going to be, I'm going to make it a sacrifice as a Nazir. And so Bishlam para bas korban. Well, 1 second. If you're going to tell me that this para is going to be your sacrifice for when you're a Nazir, that works when you talk about a para, because a para can be a sacrifice. Eladelis bas korban, but a door can't be a sacrifice. You can't offer a door as a sacrifice in the Beit HaMikdash. Ella Amarava. So therefore, we're going to try number 2. So Rava revises
The
it.
door's wood could potentially be put on the altar to burn.
Yes, that's true, but what we're really saying here is that we want this cow to be part of the sacrifices that we offer in response to the conclusion of our being a Nazir. That's how it's being understood. And so the point is that since a cow, and although a cow is not actually technically an animal used in the traditional sacrifices of a Nazir, you can offer additional sacrifices, and so that's what we're saying, that as part of the what?
A cow can be a shlamim.
Correct. A cow can be precisely that the cow can be a shlamim, and so the person is offering this cow as a shlamim in addition to the other sacrifices that he has to offer, and so that's the intention. The point is that it's part of the overall offering. And also, I'm not sure whether non-virgin, well, again, I'm not sure whether the door that they're talking about was a classic wooden door as we think about it, but even if it was a classic wooden door, I'm not sure that a door that already was used as a door can be used then as fodder for the altar, because it will have been a kli which is capable of being mekabel tuma. So I'm not sure that it's actually true, but in any event, the Gemara definitely understands that we're talking about here trying to bring it as a traditional sacrifice, and clearly a door can't do that. So Ella Amarava Kagon, as we finish the daf at the bottom line of Yud Amud Aleph, Kagon Shahaisa Para Ravutz Lefadav. So still we're talking about where the cow is lying in front of the person and is stubborn and not getting up. V'amar Harein Nazir Miyayin Imlo Amda V'amda Me'aleha. So the person says the traditional language of being a Nazir, that they reference wine, so that's good. And they're saying that if I'm going to be a Nazir, if the animal doesn't stand up, and then it stands up on its own. And if we take a look at the rush here, if we take a look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 lines down. At the end of the line, it's a Vav Hey Pei. Vahaki Perusho. Svara Parazu. The person's saying the following. This cow thinks She'ena Omedes, that it's not going to get up. She'ena Rotz Laomed, because it doesn't want to. Vidomahu, and it's as if the person said, Shetomer Biratzon. It's as if that it's saying with its own will, Hareini Nazir Imo Medes. That's how stubborn the cow is. The cow is so stubborn that it's as if the cow said to the human being standing next to it, I'm so not going to get up that if I get up, I'm going to be a Nazir. The cow is saying, I'm going to be a Nazir. So Omedesani, Lashon Mashal, and this is just, it's not meant to be literal. It's just we're understanding that's the story. That's what maybe the animals think. Ka'adam hamisarav la'asos davar, like a person who doesn't want to do something. V'amar aha nazir im asena, that we're basically anthropomorphizing this cow, and we're giving it a will, what human characteristics, exactly. We're giving it human characteristics, that this cow is being just stubborn, and it's as if the cow said, and so as a result, what we're saying is that if the cow gets up, I'm gonna force what I'm really saying is I'm gonna force this cow to get up. And if the cow, but then the me'aleha, and then the cow got up on its own. And so in this situation, Rav explains the following: Beis Shammai sabri torpe dahai gavra mishum okma bidei. That what does he mean when he says that he's trying to get the cow get up? It's because he's trying to do it with his own hands, okma biyodehu. But v'halo okma, and the person did not get the cow up by himself. The cow got up on its own. He may have been pulling all he wanted, but the cow finally decided to get up on its own. It wasn't because of any pressure by the human. So as a result, because that is clearly the person's intention is to force the cow to get up. And if it doesn't get up with his power, he's trying to make himself a Nazir. So as a result, since it got up on its own, and without his power, we're going to say he's a Nazir. Beit Hillel sabre, and Beit Hillel thinks, no, mishum deriviahu. Look, what's the whole concern here? The concern is that the cow is lying down. And what he wants to achieve is that the cow should not be lying down, it should be getting up. The hakamas, and the animal got up. So that's what he was really trying to achieve. It wasn't about his effort, it was about the outcome. And so as a result, Beit Hillel says the person's not a Nazir. Beit Shammai, who says that it's about the effort, so as a result, he says that he is a Nazir. But this causes a problem, because Ema Sefer. What about the end of our Mishnah? Because if you say that that everybody agrees that we're talking about a language that says that the guy is going to be a Nazir from wine and from grape products, well then Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Avkisha Amar Beit Shammai, Lo Amar Be'elaba Omer, Hare Parazo Alai Korban. That in the end, it's as if the person said that the animal is for me like a sacrifice, meaning that the person is not a Nazir, he's just prohibited to benefit from this animal. So why in the world would that be the case? Para mika maspisba. Midi, did he actually try to say anything about the cow? According to your explanation number 2, Rava, your second explanation, that doesn't have what is on the screen as A2 prime, that doesn't have anything to do with the status of the cow. And you are now saying that the cow is actually like somebody was made a neder to not benefit from it. So we need a third explanation for Rava. So actually, Ella Kagon de Amar Hareini Nazar Mibsara Imlo Amda. No, we're going to understand the person as saying that I'm going to be a Nazir from the meat of this cow. I'm not going to benefit from this cow, Imlo Amda, if it doesn't get up. And then what happens, and what he means again, is that he's going to force it to get up. But V'amda Me'eleha, and then it gets up on its own. So Beit Shammai Sabri Torpe Dahu Gavra, that what's the point of his statement? Mishum Ukma Bidehu. It's for him to force the animal to get up with his hands. V'halo Okma. And he didn't actually cause the animal to get up. He only, the animal got up on its own. So as a result, the condition to the vow has been satisfied, namely the animal did not get up as a result of the person's efforts. And so as a result, the person, it becomes a Nazir Mibsara. And based on our prior Mishnah, we know that if Nazir Mibsara is going to be a Nazir. Beit Hillel Sabre, Torpe Dahai Gabra, Mishum Derivia, V'hakamas. But Beit Hillel says, no, you have not even fulfilled the condition of the vow. Because the actual condition that came out of the person's mouth was about the animal lying down and getting up, and the animal got up. So as a result, the condition didn't make sense. Now we're going to challenge this, because 1 second, Beit Hillel Sabra Ilo Kamat Havi Nazir. Are you telling me that actually Beit Hillel would say that if the animal had not gotten up, the person would be a Nazir? Of course not. Amar Mibsara Lo Havi Nazir. Beit Hillel says that if you say you're a Nazir from figs, that is not a valid Nazirut. So certainly if you say you're a Nazir from a cow, you're not a Nazir. So why does he need to, why would the person be a Nazir if in fact the cow didn't get up and the condition was met according to Beit Hillel. So l'taimahu de Beit Shammai kamri. Beit Hillel is actually arguing using Beit Shammai's own logic. Lididan, according to us, according to Beit Hillel, afiu lo kamat nami lo habi nazir. Even if the animal didn't get up, because what is the vow that is being made on condition? The condition is that the animal should get up, and if the animal that the animal not get up. And if the animal does not get up, then they're going to be a nazir. But they said a nazir from meat. So of course the person is not going to actually be a nazir because there is no such thing as a nazir from meat. But ledidchu. But according to you, Beit Shammai, the amrisu havi nazir, that you say that if somebody says that they're a nazir from meat, they are a nazir. You should at least odulan. You should admit to us, mihat. Still, you should admit to us the turpe dahadin. Gavra Mishum Revia to Revia, that the person's whole statement was about the fact that the animal was lying down and now it got up. V'hakamas. So that's what the person wanted. The person wanted to try and get the animal to stand up. The animal stood up. So as a result, there shouldn't be any vow because the vow was conditioned on the animal not standing up. Well, Beit Shammai says back, Lav, no, I'm sorry. That is not the way we hold. And we hold that, in fact, although the person talked about the animal getting up, his clear intention was that he was going to force the animal to get up. And when the animal gets up on its own, that is effectively the fulfilling of his condition. Because although he said his condition with his words were that the animal would not get up, what he meant is the animal would not get up without my forcing it. And since the animal got up without his forcing it, the purpose of the man's statement is that he was trying to say that he was going to get up with his hands. And in the end, the animal did not get up. So that is our daf. I'm going to, let me just see if there's something else that I wanted to highlight. I think that's it. So it's a little a faster daf today, although we started on time, so that's also helpful. So the question, so now we've dealt with a nazir from figs, a nazir from meat, a nazir from a door. So what happens if they got the right object, but they are restrictive about it? So they don't say, I want to be a nazir from all grape products, or even grapes, or even a general category like grape seeds or grape skins or wine, but they say that they want to be a nazir from this cup of wine. So it, and what happens if when the person says it, they're a little drunk? So for the answer to these questions, you're going to have to stay tuned to tomorrow's daf.
I have a question,
Please.
for Charlie.
Okay, question for Charlie. Go.
Regarding cows. You piqued my. Does the cow, in order to start the milk process, have to be pregnant, or does the cow at maturity continue to give milk without being pregnant?
My understanding is that it has to be pregnant before it can.
Yeah, so you probably could do it with hormones today,
Yes,
but
good question.
traditionally a cow had to give birth to a calf, most of whom were sent off to become veal. And yeah, that's how cows do. I actually know a Jew whose daughter was in 4-H and got a cow. So I learned a lot from them. But
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
In order for the milk process to start with the mature cow, it
like
needs to
any
be
other
pregnant.
meal.
Correct, correct.
But
It
does it
certainly.
need to be pregnant again and again and again in order for milk to
So
continue.
my understanding is that if it continues to, if one milks the cow on a continual
That'll
basis,
continue it,
that
yeah.
it continues it. But
Yeah.
right, is that right?
They're interesting halakhic issues because cows have to be milked even on Shabbat.
Yeah, yes, that's a important point. But the question is more: does the cow need to become pregnant over and over again in order to continue its milk production, or will once it's pregnant once, is that sufficient?
Yeah, it can last a long time. I'll actually ask my friends.
Okay, we'll find out. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Looking forward to our learning again tomorrow. Be well.
Thanks.
When my kids were little, I took them to a farm, dairy farm upstate.